Hello and welcome to episode 32 of my blind Let's Play of The Witness. Sorry for the excessive S sounds there. Fuck, we need to alter the English language to work better with cheap microphones. Yeah, dude, I just keep getting more comments on this Let's Play series. I'm ridiculously stoked. So I don't know how long this will take. If it's only like 5 minutes, I'll just include it as part of the episode. If it goes on for too long, then I will just move on to a new episode. I'll just make this another reading viewer comments episode. But yeah, let's figure out where the new comments start that I didn't get to. Okay. Chris Seitz, replying to my comment on part 25, says, yeah, The Messenger is a homage to older games like Ninja Gaiden, but also to Metroid. For sure. For sure. Yeah, the Messenger is supposed to be really cool. God, I should play The Messenger. And then apparently the Sea of Stars is a different kind of game. It's an RPG, but it's set in the same world as The Messenger. But supposedly it's really, really good. Supposedly it's got like timed attacks and stuff like Mario RPG. I bet Sea of Stars is super good. I mean, maybe I'll play that on this channel one day. I just have a backlog from hell like everybody else. But yes, I would really like to play those games. Thanks for the comment, Chris Seitz. David Phillips, aka Zantir Tassa, wrote on part 13. He says, I wrote a quick program just for fun, and for the puzzle at that timestamp in the video, there's 6,259 paths from the center circle to the exit, 6,728 paths from the right circle to the exit. Okay, he linked a time in this video. Let's see what is going on, what puzzle I'm on here.
Permutations there are in a puzzle like this based on your starting point and the number of rows and columns.
Okay, yeah, so it was me when I was stuck on the one, the shadow-based puzzle out in the woods there, just kind of west of the castle, and I was talking about, I wonder how many permutations there are, and blah, 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 so this David guy was saying, like, he actually went to the trouble of writing a program to figure out how many different paths there were. Over 6,000 in like a, I don't know what, like a 4x4 or a 5x5 puzzle. That is crazy. Don't bother trying to, whatchamacallit, don't bother trying to brute force your way through this game, because you'll be here until the end of time, basically. Okay, let's like and heart that comment and write a reply. Holy crap. Hard to believe that there are so many possibilities in such a small puzzle. Thanks for sharing and indulging my curiosity. Awesome. Okay. We've got the wonderful, I'll throw in the word wonderful, sure, Chris Seitz, once again. Okay, so he was speaking, okay, this is back on part 19, so this is a comment I had already read. Speaking of a chess player doing this blind, I recently saw a guy that normally solves Sudokus on YouTube, Cracking the Cryptic, play this game blind, and how fast they were just blazing through the puzzles while apologizing for being too slow. And then I replied saying, that's crazy. Have you ever seen Sinister 1 blind play Punch-Out for the NES? And Chris Seitz replies, I meant blind as in no prior knowledge. I've seen at least parts of it thanks to Summoning Salt's video about it. That's cool. Yeah, Summoning Salt is apparently cool. I know his name. I never really watched him do any speedrunning, but he's a popular speedrunner. I know that a Canadian video game podcast I really like called Remember the Game, by a comedian named Adam Blank who lives out in Edmonton. He had an episode with Summoning Salt, just like an interview episode. That was pretty cool. So Yeah, fair enough. A blind... Okay, so some Sudoku guy cracking the cryptic on YouTube. If you want to see a Sudoku guy blind let's play this game and just, like, apparently rock it, you know, better than I'm doing, check that out. I'm going to reply to Chris and say, gotcha. Well, that is humbling to hear, but it makes sense that a Sudoku player would do well at this game. I'm going to ask him, have you ever enjoyed Picross? See, I enjoy Picross a lot more than Sudoku. For anybody who doesn't know, Picross is like a Sudoku-esque game. It's like a logic puzzle like this. Only it involves making pictures, and the game gives you clues as far as how many like dots you fill in per line, per row or column in order to create the picture. I'm sure most of you know what Picross is. If you have Nintendo Switch Online, you get a free Picross game as part of that. There's a Japanese like Mario Picross game that's included in the SNES Online thing. Okay. God, there's a lot of comments. That is so sweet. I'm so stoked to actually be getting a bunch of interaction and stuff. This is really, really fun for me. Okay. Chris Seitz says in part 28, the door mentioned is in the one treetop area, the timed door to the laser. Right. Because he left a comment about that door earlier. I don't remember what that comment was. Obviously in episode 28, which was one of my reading viewer comments episodes, I read his previous comment about the door. I don't remember what it is now, so all I'm going to do is just reply and say, right. Because I just can't remember. Josh Payne says... This is also on the part 28 comments. He says, part 26 had another 3 comments from me that you didn't read on this episode. Hidden by YouTube algorithms again, perhaps. They are visible for me, though. Odd. Well, buddy, I'm going to head back to part 26 right now. Literally even clicking on part 26. Oh, it says 5 comments. I thought I saw 1, but it was 1 day ago.
Hello.
Okay. Okay, I see these comments. Okay, yeah, I already replied to the 1. The 70 out of 120 stars... So these are all Josh Payne's comments. The 70 out of 120 stars parallel with Mario 64 is exactly how Jonathan Blow designed this game. Again, check the mountain. Perfect. I'm replying perfect. Thanks for the tip. That's excellent to hear. That's excellent to hear, because you know, anybody who was listening to me rant about that, I was saying, like, I hope they don't expect me to basically 100% this game in order to beat it. That's kind of like, you know, here's a good comparison. 2 very similar games on the N64, Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. 2 excellent games. No one will debate that, or most people shouldn't debate that. But I mean, I prefer Mario 64, and one of the many things I prefer, is that in Mario 64, yeah, you can just get 70 stars and beat the game, and then you can go search out the other 50 for fun. Whereas in Banjo-Kazooie, you have to get, I think, about 95% of the notes and the jiggies to beat the game. So, like, you're almost at perfection just beating the game, which I think they could have maybe tweaked that a little bit, but Banjo-Kazooie is still an incredible game. Okay, so Josh Payne has another comment that says, main path plus extras applies here, don't worry. Basically the same message he was saying in the last message. Like, you're not going to have to get everything just to beat the game. He says, I think that is why the puzzle counter, when you save, says that you have completed X puzzles plus Y, where the sparkle puzzles are the Y. Though optional, they are very satisfying to complete, and so many of them are so cool that encouraging you to keep looking for them throughout is to allow you more of those satisfying moments. Fair enough. Makes sense. I was kind of thinking, like, they might be optional, but who knows? Maybe you get something really good for finding them all. That being said, Josh continues, the way the pillars guide you in the direction of what to look for does make finding most of them on your own quite possible. You can focus on the main storyline, though, if it isn't worth it to you. Okay, so the pillars... Are you saying the pillars... Like, the pillars show you the shapes of them. I kind of assumed that since there are a bunch of pillars, like, whatever ones are displayed on a pillar are probably close to it in geographic proximity on whatever part of the island that pillar is in. Does that also give you the direction of them based on what side of the pillar it's on or something like that? I mean, I guess I really shouldn't ask that. I should go figure it out for myself. But yeah, that's what that comment is making me wonder. And then Josh Payne's final unread comment here on episode 26 says, solving every puzzle twice that can be solved more than one way is not something I was alluding to. Right, because he made a past comment about just how many various puzzles have more than one solution. Goodness no, he continues. I just wanted to plant a seed of that thought for you to draw on when solving a puzzle a different way might actually do something. Fair enough. Like those puzzles up in the bridges in the treetop section that I realized had more than one solution that actually wound up solving that whole area. Fair enough. He says you'll have context clues that a resolve might be warranted when it is something to do. Definitely don't randomly redo puzzle boards everywhere. Fair enough. Makes sense to me, Josh. Thank you for the elucidation and enlightenment. Let me not use too many fancy words and make some kind of fancy pants out of myself. Let's continue looking through these comments that I'm so very grateful to get. I've got more comments from Nefarious, the guy who follows my From Software Let's Plays. Okay, Josh Payne left 2 comments on part 30. He says, amazing job with the Red Palace. I ended up brute force guessing the connection on the last puzzle, but that took forever. I didn't know about the twig on the ground until watching someone else play the game. Excellent job finding it. Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate... You know, you've been sticking with me throughout this whole entire Let's Play. You got a very good attitude. You're very friendly. Really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. That was like the very last thing I did at the end of my last episode yesterday, too. Thank you. Oh, wait. What episode am I on right now? I think I started saying I'm on episode 32, but is this really 31? I appreciate... What am I going to say? Thank you. It was extremely satisfying to finally figure it out. His second comment on part 30 was, oh, impressive work figuring out the cup sparkle puzzle too. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That was a well-designed puzzle. Glad I figured it out without banging my head off of anything. Cool. So hold on. Let me check my list of videos. I thought I had 31. Yeah, I did make 31. Fair enough. Gotcha. I thought I ended it at 30, but then I came back and recorded one more episode. That's what happened. Okay, how many more comments have we got? Josh Payne commenting twice on part 31. He says this episode has been a fun one. Thank you. I think I was definitely like having some more fun at the end of the day there. I think I was like singing a bit and just like singing random songs about the Witness Island and generally just having a good time. I'm going to put thanks with a laughing emoji. I try to entertain myself and whoever else is around. That is true. I do have a strong sense of humor. Josh Payne finally also says, I appreciate the fact that you have respect for Christianity even though you aren't religious. I'm not exactly a stereotypical Christian in quite a few ways. Religion, like politics, has gotten extremely polarized in the United States lately to where I've been finding myself too liberal for conservative churches and too conservative for liberal churches. I don't know if churches in Canada are the same way or not. I couldn't really tell you, but if I had to take a wild guess, I would say most likely. I mean, I think church down in the States is a little more important than up here in Canada, but of course it always just depends on the group you're around. I mean, if you go into small town Canada, church is extremely important, and if you go out west, probably you'll find more of it out there too. So I couldn't really tell you, but I would say it's probably pretty likely, considering everything is, just very polarized. Canada is different from the United States, though, where the average American is a lot bolder than the average Canadian. Americans tend to work out their differences by talking through them and not backing down and just, going until you've got a discussion sorted out. Which obviously in modern polarizing times doesn't work, because the problems that have been kind of foisted onto everyone and exacerbated so much by the divisive media makes the discussion so passionate, let's say, that like I've heard just from a bunch of different Americans that like people just don't talk to each other anymore. People that used to be friends and stuff that are on, opposite sides of various issues just literally can't even congregate anymore. And it's been that way, since Trump came around in 2016. And that's not me shitting on Trump, by the way. I'm a Trump supporter, but yeah, I think it is that way in Canada, just less so, and we deal with it differently. So even before Trump came around in 2016, Canadians were already extremely passive aggressive. Like, Canadians are just extremely passive aggressive. Not all of us, not all the time, but in general, like, we just pretend to get along a lot of the time, and we just, it's like in calmer times, the level of passive aggression doesn't really matter that much, because little backbiting here and there doesn't really matter. Avoiding certain conversations doesn't really matter. But in hyper polarizing times now, the passive aggression is just really off the charts. And it's actually, now that I think about it, is kind of like the same as how I'm describing the States, where so many people just can't congregate together, even if they're family or friends, because they don't get along over certain issues. It's kind of that way in Canada now, but it's less discussed. More people on both sides are more likely to just huddle in their little hole and just stop talking to the people that they hyper disagree with, without having like an out and out argument over it or discussion about it. It'll just be more hidden and more passive aggressive. So I would say we're probably pretty similar here to how you all are down there. And yeah, I don't think it's fair that like Christianity is like, dude, I mean, there's a lot of issues with Christianity, especially the Catholic Church, all the evil that's been done in the name of the Catholic Church. I mean, the Catholic Church used to rule over Europe with a frickin' iron fist for hundreds of years. But, like, there have been so many reformations that, like, the average church these days isn't, like, raping kids, Probably a lot of Catholic ones still do. But my point is, like, if you have a group of people that's doing something that you have issues with and then they change, can't you get along with them? And the answer with Christianity, unfortunately, in modern society is no. People have just been super, super brainwashed that, there's only one evil cult in the world, and it's like Christianity and conservatives and right-wingers. And meanwhile, like, there are just so many other evils going on in the world that get zero coverage. And if you bring it up, like, if you have an issue with a Jew or a Muslim, and that's not to, like, shit on all Jews and Muslims, but it's just a fact that me, as a neutral observer, I can't critique either one without, like, having a certain percentage of society just assume that I'm, like, Hitler. Literally Hitler. But then meanwhile, Christianity, it's just like popular to just shit on Christianity all day, all night. No historical understanding that, 2,000 years ago when Christianity came onto the scene, it was one of the major forces that helped take this world from like a highly paganistic, like blood sacrifice type of world into like a more modern civil kind of world. That's the forces of Christianity and the actual like teachings of Christ about like kindness and sacrificing to help people that have enabled that. But then meanwhile, you've got the Christian value of like tolerance and of understanding that's being used as a propaganda tool to tell everybody these days that we have to be tolerant and understanding of even things that are overtly violent. I mean, I digress. The point is, we should all be reasonable. We should all be fucking reasonable. And we're not. But I try to still be a reasonable person. When I was driving around the States in June of this year, I stopped at a roadside, like a rest stop in Ohio. For anybody who doesn't know, there are like way more rest stops in the United States than in Canada. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because in general, the United States is just a little bit nicer of a country than Canada, where people are a little bit more passionate. They care a little bit more. They protect their freedoms a little bit more so they can do more of what they want. And things get nicer when you have more pride in things, and you have more pride in things when you actually have control over your own life. That's a pro free market and anti-communistic statement. But anyway, I was at this little road like rest stop in Ohio, and I wound up talking to this old Jehovah's Witness couple, and like I've heard horrible stories coming out of Jehovah's Witnesses of like just like entire towns that operate in like a cult-like manner, and wives aren't allowed to leave their husbands and all this crazy stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to make some big statement on Jehovah's Witness here, except that in general, people kind of consider them to be like one step away from Scientologists. Scientologists are probably the most made fun of, like, quirky religion, I would say, in our society. And Jehovah's Witnesses are considered like just about the same. And like I just chilled and talked to this Jehovah's Witness couple, and they were super cool. They didn't try to be too pushy on me. And that's not to say that all Jehovah's Witness wouldn't be. I'm like, oh God, I'm rambling too much on this point, but people have just really lost their fucking minds in society these days. I appreciate you appreciating me for, not shitting on you for being a Christian, because if I just followed modern societal, media prescribed doctrine, I would just say, oh my God, you're a Christian? You believe in man in the sky? Oh my God, you probably want to put all women in cages. Because that's like the modern dialogue. Meanwhile, like Islam actually puts people in cages, and it's like, oh my God, but we have to be tolerant of their loving, Islamic culture. They just spread by violence. I mean, that's not a big deal, right? They spread by lies and violence. I mean, if you're a non-Muslim, it's okay for Muslims to rape you, but that's not a big deal. It's just a different culture. We just got to be equal with all cultures. You don't want to be racist, do you? Meanwhile, the average person that would call me racist for criticizing a fucking Muslim doesn't even know that the number one population majority Muslim country in the world isn't even in the Middle East. Fancy that. It's fucking Indonesia, and they're Asians. Isn't that weird? But anyway, this is a good... dude, I'm rambling so much. 24 minutes. Yeah, this will definitely be a solo episode, entirely concentrated on comments. I will just finish off by saying, if you are a Muslim listening to this, or a Jew, or some person in some other crazy group, me personally, I judge everybody on an individual basis based on how they act in the moment. So, I know lots of Muslims out there are totally fucking normal people. I know, every Jew out there isn't like calling me Hitler just for like, criticizing circumcision, for example. So if you're a normal person and you just happen to be a Muslim or a Jew or whatever category you are, you're trans, you're black, you're gay. Me personally, and no one asked this, but I'm saying it anyway because we're just in this territory of these hyper polarized and difficult to have discussions in modern society. And my personal stance, with no racist dog whistling or anything like that, my personal stance is to judge everybody based on how they treat you and how they act. Judge a tree by its fruits. Makes fucking sense to me. So that's about it. But oh god, I could just rant for so fucking long on how crazy humanity is, but it is what it is. I'm one of the crazy ones too. We're all in it together. So anyway, I appreciate everybody's comments. And that's what I got. Thanks very much. Like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps me out a ton. You have been commenting. I really appreciate it. We're going to get back into this game in episode 33, and that's about it. Constructive criticism is welcomed. Compliments are welcomed. If you want to dive in on any of these discussions, any of these subjects I've brought up, absolutely. I mean, leave a comment. I would love to interact with you in the comment section. If you have like some really strong opinion that you don't feel like posting on social media for some reason, email it to me. I got my email up in my thing. I've got my Twitter or my X profile linked to my YouTube account too. Hit me up. That's all I got to say. Okay. Peace out. See ya in episode 33, and I will continue solving the puzzles of Witness Island.